We also have the practice of usurping legislative power through signing statements. They have received much publicity. I served on the American Bar Association's Committee on Presidential Signing Statements. What they are is an effort by a president to exercise a line-item veto, a power that is explicitly withheld in the Constitution, in which the Supreme Court held was illegal in a case called New York versus Clinton. Now, what is wrong with a line-item veto? It's this. The Constitution sets forth consensus in the House and Senate needed to pass a bill. The members vote on the whole bill, not on part of it. The president is required, if you follow George Washington, but I must remember that President Bush says he doesn't learn much by reading, so he probably wouldn't follow President Washington just by reading him. But the president is required to veto the entire bill and send it back for override or sign it. That's part of the equilibrium between the two branches that the Founding Fathers thought was essential to enlightened legislation. Signing statements disrupt that equilibrium. The president signs the bill and it says, but these parts I won't enforce. For example, a bill prohibiting the use of torture and gathering foreign, I don't like that. It seems unconstitutional to me. So I'll sign the bill. You won't be able to override the parts that I don't enforce because I'm not sending the bill back. And therefore, I only accept the parts that I like. The members of Congress say, wait a minute, I only voted on the total bill. I didn't vote on an expurgated edition. That's your manufacture. It's quite astonishing that Congress has acquiesced in this practice of President Bush, but there it is. It's not an excuse. It's not a defense to an impeachable offense that Congress has winked at. One of the most dangerous practices of this administration for all of us is this idea. It goes under the exotic name extraordinary rendition. But the gist of it is the claimed authority of the president to kidnap people abroad, throw them into dungeons, torture them, dump them out, disappear them, without any access to lawyers, without any access to courts, all in secret. Now, think of this proposition. You happen to be visiting in the summer the Louvre in Paris. Vladimir Putin says, you know, I think that person's sympathetic to the Chechens. He sends some of his federal security service, he kidnaps, sends you to Belarus to be tortured and then held there indefinitely. The American ambassador protests on your behalf and says, gee, what's going on here? You're holding American citizens in detention, torturing them, no accusations. Putin says, hey, we're just following President Bush's example. How do we retort? Our theory is, we're stronger than you, we can kidnap your citizens, but you can't kidnap ours. That is a version of Tom Hobbes's state of nature in international affairs. You do whatever you can get away with. It's very cynical, and it will lead to the law of the jungle for all of us whenever we're abroad. And in fact, you know, we have 26 CIA operatives under indictment in Italy for having kidnapped an Egyptian off the streets of Milan, sent him to Egypt where he was tortured. 13 under arrest warrants in Germany for having kidnapped and detained and sent back to Albania a Lebanese citizen of a Lebanese German citizen. And we are engaged in such lawlessness that our ordinary friends abroad are reluctant to participate in covert actions to in fact thwart terrorists. The British House of Parliament recently issued a report indicating there were occasions when MI6, the British version of the CIA, refused to cooperate in covert actions because they didn't get assurances that those who were detained wouldn't be tortured. So that these cowboy tactics are making us less safe because we're reducing the amount of international cooperation we have. Now, one of the most dangerous elements of this administration, and there are a lot of candidates for that, but this is the idea that government in secrecy is necessary and obligatory in order to conduct the war against international terrorism. Secret government. Some of the issues that we'll discuss this evening wouldn't be a topic unless the executive branch officials leaked them to the New York Times. The only reason we've had a discussion about warrantless electronic surveillance in violation of federal law is because there were leaks to the New York Times that were published in December of 2005. How did we learn about the CIA's destruction of those interrogation videotapes? leaks to the New York Times. If the president had his way, he would keep this secret forever. Now, why is that perhaps the most dangerous encroachment on constitutional principles of all? Because it runs contrary to the basic, unique, distinguishing feature of the United States, which is government by the consent of the government means that people have a right to know what their government is doing and to support or oppose it. You cannot have democracy when government operates in secrecy. It is an oxymoron. And this administration has insisted that everything be secret. It has fought Congress in its oversight role and claimed one of the Orwellian theories of justification as follows. If we publicize anybody who we've detained, tortured, it will give a clue to the international terrorists as a vulnerability. And therefore, you have to have a secret system forever. You can never disclose who you captured. One of the things about the United States that makes it different is that we accept some risks that tyrannies don't accept as the condition of freedom and liberty. We do accept risks of murder and have a Fourth Amendment that says, yeah, maybe we would be safer if everyone was in prison, but it would be the end of the country. And that is the attitude that pervades this administration. If you want to hear the most revealing anecdote, it comes from a former head of Office of Legal Counsel in the Justice Department in a recent book. Listen to this if this doesn't cause your spine to chill. During discussions about the electronic surveillance and the authority of the president to undertake warrantless spying and interceptions or emails, David Addington, Dick Cheney's lawyer, said, oh, one more bombing and that'll be the end of the law. If that's your mentality and you permit these people to stay in power, then we deserve our destiny, which will be the decline and fall of Rome. Thanks.